Do you often worry about how you come across to other people in social settings? Obsessing over your body language can actually do more harm than good and can keep you stuck in a negative cycle that leads to even more social anxiety. In this video, I'll explain why it's likely you already have all the body language skills you need to succeed, and why it's very unlikely you come across as anywhere near as nervous as you think you do to other people in the first place. Hey, I'm Neil and I struggle with social anxiety for more than 2 decades. On this channel, every week, I'll be bringing you some of the best methods and strategies that I've used in my own life to feel more confident. Self-monitoring is when you try to control actions and behaviours that are usually unconscious. When we're in a social situation and we start feeling self-conscious, then we may begin self-monitoring. And this is a common behaviour that people with social anxiety do, and it's often used at their detriment. Take walking as an example. When you're in your own house and you're just walking about, you probably aren't aware of how you're doing it. It's just a natural behaviour that you do, and you don't question whether you're doing it right or not. But when you're out in public and you're feeling self-conscious, you may begin to feel uptight and inhibited. You begin to consciously think about the walking process and how you're actually doing it, which can lead you to coming across as looking a lot more awkward and robotic. And this is all because you're just super aware of how people are seeing you. Take making eye contact as another example. When you're in a conversation with somebody you know well, such as, say, a family member, you probably don't think about how you're doing it. You probably don't even question whether you're making eye contact in the right way. It's just something that you do naturally. But then when you start talking to a person that you don't know well, you might start to feel uncomfortable and you may start to question, am I doing it right? Is this right? Should I be doing it like this? Most people that have social anxiety already know very well how to make eye contact, and as you become more and more confident around other people, it will just start to happen more naturally. But if you begin to self-monitor, then you may come across as though you're slightly out of sync in a conversation. You may seem a little bit out of focus, almost as if you're a second or two behind. Most people don't self-monitor when they're in a conversation. It's really people with social anxiety and insecurities that do it, because we're constantly stuck in our own heads and trying to second guess everything that we're doing. People often believe that their internal states are more apparent to other people than they really are, and this is a phenomenon known as the illusion of transparency, which is similar to the spotlight effect, which is where we think that other people are all staring at us as we go about our day-to-day business. This illusion of transparency bias can make us feel a lot more self-conscious in social and performance situations, which can have a great impact on our behaviour and how we perceive ourselves. And as a result of this, we might feel a lot of additional pressure to fit in with others, and this can lead to a big increase in our levels of social anxiety. Take public speaking as an example, where people who are about to deliver a speech might believe that their nerves are a lot more apparent to the audience than they actually are, and during the speech they may feel very self-conscious because of this. There was a scientific study done where the participants gave impromptu speeches to an audience, and then afterwards they were asked to rate how anxious they felt as though they came across. And the results showed that even though the participants thought they looked highly anxious while they were on stage, that the audience didn't actually share these same views. I've had people tell me before that I don't look anxious when I'm speaking in some of the online groups that I attend, and I've even had people that say I speak really well, and also so many people that come to the groups that I run constantly say that they feel really anxious. They're worried they come across as anxious, but the truth is most people don't really look anxious at all. I mean, literally last night when I was running a group, I had a new person come that hadn't come before, and they were saying at the end that they felt as though they came across as really nervous, when in reality I couldn't really tell they were nervous at all. If I didn't know that they were there because of social anxiety, then I'd think that they were just a normal person just delivering a speech. Occasionally at the groups I run, I might find that someone is slightly shaking in their voice when they speak, but most of the time it's not really apparent and most people wouldn't really notice it. I think that's the case for most people. Most people don't look anywhere near as anxious as they think they do. Most of it is just in their head in that respect. How do we begin then to stop the process of self-monitoring? Firstly, I would say that we need to begin to accept that there could be times where we come across as looking slightly nervous, and we don't want to fight these feelings, because paradoxically, if we do that, then this could actually increase our anxiety in the moment and in the long term. If you keep putting pressure on yourself to be perfect and to never show any symptoms of performance anxiety, then this will likely just increase your anxiety in the long term. So trying to look more confident will just increase your social anxiety. The solution is to try and let go of caring about whether you come across as looking nervous or not. And one thing, if you really wanted to, you could even tell people that you are feeling nervous in a situation, which may help to take some of the pressure off. The next step is to notice when you're having a lot of anxious thoughts and feelings, and to become aware of when you're stuck in your head worrying about them, and to practice building an awareness of this. I'll go into detail in future videos about how you can really begin to build mindful awareness, but for now I'm going to teach you a new strategy that you can use while you're actually in a conversation. The final step is learning to switch your focus. So if you're in a conversation, then you can begin to actively listen and to externally focus on the other person. If you stay in your head and you focus on the way you're thinking and you're feeling, then this is only going to maintain and likely increase your social anxiety in the long term. Instead of being caught in your head, you want to try to externally focus your attention onto the other person and what they're saying. And by actively listening to them, you make them the center of attention instead of you. By actively listening to the other person, then you're going to be focusing all of your attention onto them, and as a result of that, you're not going to be paying attention to all your internal negative, anxious thoughts that you've been having in the past. By doing this and by paying better attention to the other person, then you're going to retain more of the information, because it's going to be easier for you to understand and take in what that person is actually saying. Then, when it's actually your turn to talk, you're going to have actually remembered what they're saying, so when you do respond, it's going to be a lot easier. You'll probably have more things to say, and you're actually going to respond a lot more naturally. So all of this will then begin to reduce your levels of anxiety, because you're no longer actually paying attention to it. And by learning to stay calm and not letting anxiety actually speed you up, then over the long term, your feelings of anxiety will reduce. You can then begin to gradually have longer conversations over time as you feel more and more comfortable doing it. If you practice other mindfulness techniques first and strengthen those concentration skills, then you may find externally focusing and actively listening becomes easier when you're in a conversation, rather than waiting until you're actually in a conversation and feeling anxious to practice them. If you're not in a conversation and you're feeling anxious, so say you're just walking down the street, or if you're in a crowd of people, then another way to be mindful is to shift your focus into your body and how you're actually feeling. You can then begin to ground yourself once you focus your attention into your body using certain mindfulness techniques. I've actually made videos on some of these before, and I think some of the best ones to use are deep breathing exercises, and I'll make other videos about these in future. Once you are fully immersed in a conversation, you should begin to find that the words will start to flow naturally, and this is what people with little to no social anxiety will do naturally. So instead of getting caught up in your head, try using some of these techniques instead. Bear in mind that these types of technique take a lot of practice to become good at, so don't expect to become a super confident person overnight. If you'd like to take big steps towards overcoming social anxiety, I run weekly online group sessions where you can practice being confident in a safe environment and gently ease your way out of your comfort zone. I'll put the link down in the description. If you want to watch more, then check out my next one, where I'll be going into detail about some of the mindfulness strategies that you can use to overcome social anxiety. Thank you so much for watching. If you found it valuable, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you in the next one.